Hey guys.
Hello,
Hello.
mate. You all right? We
Yeah.
are recording, Robbie. So now you.
Don't say fuck or bugger.
Got absolutely nothing to hide.
I love that.
My dignity left in 1990, so we're all good.
That far back?
I don't know if any of you have seen the video to the Take That song, Do What You Like.
I have.
Well, for those that are watching the podcast, and maybe your co-presenters after this, you can go and have a watch of Take That, Do What You Like, and you can just see my dignity leaving the planet. 3.5 minutes of that video. It's actually a video where there's two versions. Have you seen both versions? You have.
You should look at me, Robbie, and you should see that I'm the demographic for you, right? That's what you should see.
Let's just say there's one version of that video where we're all naked on the floor.
No way.
Yeah, remember that one.
Having jelly mopped off our bare arses.
Wow.
I might have to dig that one back out again. Just remind me of that.
For some reason, the over 18s version has been taken off the internet. I don't know why. I looking for it.
I bet it's
Class
somewhere.
is born now.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Well, Robbie, thanks so much for joining us on Seaman Says, and I can't believe I've got you on. It's so cool.
Oh, mate, an absolute pleasure. Anytime for you, mate.
I loved it when we were doing soccer raid, and you said to me, you went, "How you doing?" I went, "Yeah." What? And you went, "What you up to?" I said, "Yeah, usual, and fishing and golfing and doing a podcast." And you went, "What? You're doing a podcast?" I was like, "Yeah." And you went, "What? You do it?" I was like, "Yeah." You went, "I'm gonna come on it." I was like, "All right then."
Here I am. How's it doing, the podcast?
It's doing brilliant. We got sent some figures, didn't we, earlier, David, of how it's doing all over the world. Singapore, we're a hit.
Number one in Singapore.
Number one
Yeah.
in Singapore. You must have had a number one in Singapore, right?
Yeah, probably.
Robbie.
It's. Can I just ask? It's weird how podcasts grow, though, isn't it? Is it a thing where you actually go bam, and then you know within 4 or 5 weeks whether it's something or not, or do you have to wait for like 2 years to like inch up the charts? How does it work out?
Well, it was €1 tournament for us, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's because we've got safe hands on it. That's why, Robbie.
I think it depends who you are. Sorry about the man flu, by the way. It depends who you are. If you've got a huge fan base, then they're going to go straight to it. So, if you wanted a launch one, Rob, you'd probably do all right.
Yeah,
So you're a Southampton fan then?
he is.
Yes.
Yes.
He is.
Oh, is it that?
Yeah. I saw the Latisse pillow. What's being a Southampton fan feel like? No, I mean, like, look, I'm a Port Vale fan, and we're actually second in Division 2 in League 2, and it feels like an achievement because there's something happening. Maybe we'll fall off, maybe we won't. But with Southampton, you're kind of like you're destined for. We've got 10th or 9th place. I'm not having a go here.
No, not at all. And I agree.
I want to know the psychology of, unless we get like oil billions, what's going to happen?
Staying up is always a good sign.
Yeah.
But we've been such a beautiful breeding ground for such talent over the past 20 years. And we take a lot of pride in that. What was that?
Beautiful.
Yeah. Gareth Bale, Van Dijk, and we hold on dearly to our beloved Latisse.
Theo
So I
Walcott,
think-
who came back.
Yeah. But, we won't talk about him in his recent form.
What is it that you are? What is it that could be like a win for you? Where do you go? I know that staying up is the ultimate result, but where is the sort of payoff? Because if do you aim for like the Europa League? What is it? I'm not taking.
Yes.
I genuinely want to know.
No. We were very spoilt with Poch and with Koeman, and we made Europe a few times. And then it all sort of petered off. There were some bad deals done. We squandered away the Van Dijk money. But I have true belief with Ralph Hasenhüttl, and I think if we get the right squad and we can aim to go up the table each year, that top table finish, possibly Europa, would be incredible.
Another question. I know this is your podcast.
Fire away.
So the question, while I'm thinking about it, is like, why is the Europa League or the Europa Conference so poo-poo? Why is it like not beloved or enjoyed
enough?
I think it's especially the conference. I think because that's a new sort of competition, and it just seems to be like the third tier of European football. Obviously everybody wants to get into the Champions League, but then the Europa League, that's still good. But when they brought in the conference, people were like, they were actually saying, well, I hope we don't get in there. Even Arsenal fans, when Tottenham actually got in there, they were like, oh, that's great, because then we don't have to mess about in that little league, they were calling it.
But don't you think it's like such an unfortunate name that they chose to use?
Yeah,
conference,
totally.
Yeah. See, I'm the person that got ridiculed on Fighting Talk for basically basking in the glory of Wolves getting to the quarterfinals of the Europa League.
Here's an unpopular opinion. I prefer the League Cup to the FA Cup.
Do you?
Yeah.
Because?
I don't know. I have no reasoning behind it. I think because it just comes in bang at the start of the season. You've missed football. It starts off straight away. And I don't know. I've completely and utterly fallen out of love with the FA Cup. Obviously, you've won it a number of times, Dave. Is there still a big soft spot for the FA Cup for you? Or in secret, are you a bit like, no, it's just the FA Cup?
No, the FA Cup's mega for me. Well, not just for me. If you chat to a lot of the players, they've got great memories of the FA Cup day. Because of what they used to do on Cup Final Day. They'd be like, it's a knockout. There'd be cameras on the coach and that, cameras at the hotels, and it was just an amazing day. And I was lucky. I've been in 5 Cup Finals, and all of them. There was 2 at the Millennium Stadium, and the rest were at Wembley. The other way around, I can't remember. But it was just an amazing day, and it still felt that way, even when I retired. And then even now when I watch it, I still look forward, and I like to make sure that I get ready for it, like 2 hours before or when the coverage starts, because I just...
You get your full kit on, ready now.
Not quite.
No, but I think that's solidified, because back in the day when the FA Cup was God, it's like you say, there was the helicopters that followed the bus from the Hilton Wembley or whatever it was, the Wembley Stadium or wherever it was. And then your career started around about that time, because I actually met you at the Hilton Wembley. I met you at Hilton Wembley in 1988.
Was it?
Yeah,
wow.
In 1988. And you were there with Chris Waddle and Brian Robson.
Yeah.
Table, and my mum was going out with somebody that knew Brian Robson, and I've got a picture with me and you. So I'll just go back to what I was saying. Your career started at the time when FA Cup was God. Can I go and ask the punters, the civilians like myself, what are your thoughts on the FA Cup? Having not won it, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, as a Wolves fan, I would say I would prefer Wolves to win the FA Cup than the League Cup, personally speaking.
I think it's got more history. It still feels like it has a bit more prestige to it.
But are you still in love with it?
Yeah.
Not as much as I was. I not as much as in the 90s. I used to love watching the FA Cup final. You wouldn't miss an FA Cup final, and it was on terrestrial TV, and everybody would sit down.
Do you think that's the fact that why it's gone down in some estimation, because it isn't on terrestrial TV? Do you think that's why it is?
I think that's a huge impact. Yeah, I do. And I think it used to be that gathered event where you'd get around the TV. I know that you don't have those much
But
anymore.
BBC have it now, don't they? I'm sure that they have the cup final.
They do have the cup final.
Yeah.
They have for quite a few years, haven't they? But they didn't continuously. I think it went away for a bit. Yeah,
and I think what else has happened, Robbie, is that like with the Champions League, and the Europa League, the focus has changed a bit. I mean, it was so interesting when I was at Arsenal. Arsene Wenger would give us a piece of paper, all the players, and he'd say, write down in order or in preference of what you'd like to win this season, right? And all the foreign players would put Champions League. All the British players would put Premier League. So their focus changed from actually winning the Premier League. They wanted to win the Champions League.
I think that I think the Champions League has taken preference over what the FA Cup used to be. Because the Champions League back in the day, wasn't it actually like the top one team went through?
That's what it's supposed to be. It was supposed to be the winners of every division. Not every division, the top league in that country. But then they realised how big it was going to get. And now it's like for us, we get what do we get now? 4 places.
Yeah,
five with an FA Cup winner, don't you?
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah.
But going back to your earlier question, what can a team like Southampton hope to achieve? I think any team like a Wolves or around that area of the league, I think a cup run is. Sorry, my voice. I think a cup run is way up there, and because of the beauty of the way that the teams have picked it out, that a City or a United could be knocked out early on. You think, oh yeah, we've got a good way through now.
But don't you also think that Thursday night football, if you get into the Europa League as a Southampton or as a Wolves, don't you think that Thursday night football is going to bugger your run in the Premiership too? Because historically, teams like Southampton or Wolves, when they do reach the European League, their Premiership form suffers.
Well, it's not happened for West Ham this season. They're juggling it really well.
There's the team that's boxed the trend. But normally, traditionally, like Wolves get into the European League and then their Premier League suffers. And I know this because I was like, okay, Wolves are in the Europa League. I'm going to fill my dream team with the back four of Wolverhampton because I get the European games and I get the Premier League games. It was the worst decision I'd ever made.
By the way, Robbie, I would take Thursday night football for Arsenal all day long because we're nowhere near it at the moment.
There's a wind of change at Arsenal though at the minute that I am currently enjoying watching because I've got what's his name, Ramsdale. Is that your goalkeeper?
Aaron. Aaron.
Aaron. And he makes one of the best saves of all time at the weekend.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah.
And doesn't Arteta say believe in the process or something like that? Is that what he says?
Yeah, he's been saying that for a while, and I think now Arsenal fans are slowly beginning to believe him. Because we started off terrible, if I'm honest, but.
I was just thinking last night as I watched Manchester United versus Atalanta and Chelsea versus Malmo, and then you watch Gary Neville doing his, Gary Neville's soccer box or whatever it's called.
Oh yeah.
Then you watch Gianfranco Zola going through his career, and I realise how much history I've witnessed with football and what it means to me. So it's like Atlanta last night with Manchester United. Atlanta scored first, and you're like, Ollie's got to be out. And then Ronaldo comes and he scores to save Manchester United. And you're like, oh, how's this going to turn out? And then Varane gets taken off. The reason I'm saying all of this, it's just a beautiful game that never fails to keep you entertained. If one match is rubbish, another match is just around the corner with, an incredible manager that graces us at the Premier League because we got all the cash. And I'm just sitting here talking to David and talking to you guys and thinking about football and how much I love it.
That brings me on to something that I wanted to know actually from you, Robbie, is how do you think it compares to when you were in your pomp watching it in the 90s and the 2000s? What do you think about it now? Because obviously in recent years we've had VAR introduced. The game doesn't have as much tackling as I'm sure you've been used to watching down at Port Vale. So where are you with it now? What's your love affair like? Well,
psychologically and physically, I'm now 47. So I can watch it without actually feeling jealous that I'm not a professional footballer.
Is that the dream?
I'm nowhere near good enough to,
Would you have swapped it? Would you have swapped the pop star lifestyle?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't have swapped it. Blowing my own trumpet, I've sold out the San Siro Stadium by myself and had 85,000 fans sing my name just to me. I don't have to share that with 10 other people and a manager. When I'm watching European football, I'm like, I sell that. I can play that stadium. As much as I love football and would have loved to have done both, I wouldn't swap it for my job because, the great thing about my job is I get all of the plaudits. The bad thing about my job is I get all of the criticism too. So
not too dissimilar to a goalkeeper.
Yeah, exactly.
Your mistakes are very, very highlighted. A midfielder or an attacker can have 2 mistakes a game. It's never brought up again for the rest of their lives, unless it's Stevie G's slip, of course. You have 2 mistakes in your whole career, and we know what they are.
Yeah. And they shall not be named.
I won't bring them up. But that's why you got paid the big bucks, though.
Yeah. But going back to like when Adam just asked you about would you have rather been a musician or a footballer? I remember being behind you in the tunnel at Old Trafford at Soccer Aid, and you were the captain. You were leading us out, and I was stood behind you, and I was like as calm as anything, and you were like quite nervous and everything, which you're going to be because there was like 60,000 going out there, and you're going to play football. And I remember you turned around to me and you went, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah." So it's like, this was my living, Robbie. Now there's no pressure. But like, if you asked me to sing, like even if you asked me to sing now, I'd be so nervous.
No, I remember that moment. It was, I was 32 or 30, literally leading an England squad out to play at Old Trafford with the captain's armband on me, and being very aware at the level of my footballing talent, and knowing that there was going to be 3 to 4 million people watching it at home. It was absolutely terrifying, and I was having a panic attack. I was having a panic attack, and then I just turned around to Dave, and he sort of just like, he looked like a cup of chamomile tea. It was exactly that. It's just I looked around. It looked like he'd put lavender on his pillow.
Zed.
All off into a nice slumber.
But have a confession.
Oh, God. Yeah.
So I don't know whether you remember this, Robbie, but back in the day, you would have stopped at the Copthorne Hotel in Dudley.
Dudley.
Yeah. And I broke through security and got into the lobby when you were staying there.
Wow.
But I didn't get close to you because they quickly got me and pulled me back. But I just thought I should confess that I did.
Lids.
Was that Take That days or Robbie days?
That was Take That day.
Wow.
Before the breakaway, Robbie.
Yeah, you splitter. You didn't stick around for long, did you?
I've got all the other albums, don't worry.
Oh, thank you.
So, Robbie, where does your love for Port Vale come from?
Well, what actually happened was on the TV, I'd say very late 70s, early 80s, you only got Match of the Day. And, that was the thing that I loved watching. And then you get the England games where, back in the day when if you played Turkey, you knew you were going to beat them 7-0. And, there was the inevitability in these qualifiers that we were going to do quite good. So I fell in love with football through Match of the Day and England internationals. And at the time, Liverpool and Everton were winning everything. And I don't know why, but my 8-year-old self, 9-year-old self went, I don't like them. They're winning everything. and I don't want to support them, who else can I support? And Tottenham had a great strip, the Lily White strip, and they had Glenn Hoddle at the time. And then there was Manchester United with Brian Robson and Jasper Olsen and John Sieberbeck, David Bailey, Gordon Strachan, and so on and so forth. And they just bought that striker from Nottingham Forest that came over and did nothing. Who was that? Can you remember?
No, from
Callum, come on.
Anyway,
You're a United
all my
fan.
time.
No.
Birtles.
Birtles, Gary Birtles, yeah. Long story short, I fell in love with Manchester United. And the 1985 FA Cup, Norman Whiteside, 101st minute, really boring game against Everton, extra time, Norman Whiteside turns, he scores, he shoots, he scores, and fall in love with the Red Devils. But I live in Stoke-on-Trent, and I've got nobody to take me to Manchester. And even though it's 47 miles away, it might as well be Mars. So it inhabits this place that I just can't reach and I can't get to. Or we can't afford to go anyway. And then when I got to 13 years old, you could get into Port Vale for 50 pence. And it was literally walking distance from my house. It was less than, I'd say it was half a mile away. So I start going to Port Vale and you become part of a tribe and it's 50p and you can see the players and you're in arm's length of them and you walk past their cars in the car park and you learn the songs and you become part of the spirit and this tribe's bouncing up and down and singing Johnny Rudge's Black and White Army, we're so good, it's unbelievable, for 45 minutes. And it's like spiritual and religious and it's an incantation where you're sort of part of this spirit that feels absolutely amazing. And then you've got the away fans right behind you. If you're lucky, you're in the same league or you get an FA Cup with West Ham. And then the intercity firm has sat right behind you. And they want to fight you. And you're like, I'll fight you. And you're like, I won't. I'm 14 and I'm terrified. You sat in the stands and then there's Millwall. And they're on the other side over there. They've got these surgical masks on.
Pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID. The surgical Millwall from the Den. And then you'd be like, and here come Barnsley. And then you'd be like, then you'd have this sort of like reverse snobbery, like Barnsley. You know? We're in Stoke and we're judging Barnsley. Come in a taxi. You must have come in a taxi. You know, and just that rapport and the safety and the anonymity, but being part of this tribe, mixed with the fact that we had our glory years, which, you know, mean a lot to me, but outside looking in would probably look embarrassing that we sort of rose to the dizzy heights of 8th in the championship or 7th or whatever it was. But we had these players that we were buying and selling, you know, we were buying and we sold one player for 1.1 million, I think, Andy Jones to Charlton, or it was 800,000, I can't remember. But these figures were happening, there was momentum and there was movement and we were rising up through the divisions and we'd actually go to Wembley and playoffs and win them. So, which is why I go back to the Southampton thing, because at least I've experienced momentum and movement and winning, and even though it's at a much lower level, you know, so the spoils of falling in love with your local team meant a great deal to me. Obviously, as you can tell from my
well, for me as well, I was born there. Unfortunately, it's a pretty, I don't want to put it down. It's not the most beautiful place. But I know I've told the guys on here before. I remember being in the car as a little kid, and my dad's taking me to school. We got some mates in there, and my mates are like, "Yeah, I support Man United," and they're like, "Who do you support, Adam?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I support United as well." And my dad, who was a big Leeds fan because that's where he's from, he went, "No, son, you're born in Southampton. You're a Saints fan. And I was about 7. I'm like, all right, Dad, yeah, I'm a Saints fan. And ever since, at the Dell, to Mary, that's it. I'm a Saints fan.
Well, I'll tell you this story, right? And it's a very, very weird story. But like, I must have been about 9 or 10. And back in the day when you were allowed to just go out the house at that age, you know, latchkey kid, key around my neck on a lace. And I won't mention his name, but I still remember his name. I'd be about 9 or 10. And he had a can of Lilt. Can you remember Lilt, Dave?
Lilt, yeah. Totally tropical taste.
Yeah, it was totally tropical taste. And he was like, look, if you get this question right, I'll let you have some of this Lilt. And it was like, who do you support, Manchester United or Spurs? And I was like, on the spot, because I'd undecided, but I was like, Manchester United. And he let me taste this Lilt, right? And it was the weirdest tasting drink I'd ever had. I just thought, I'm not going to drink Lilt ever again. Cut to 2 years later, somebody gives me a can of Lilt, and I drink it, and I realise peed in a can of Lilt and made yeah.
Kids are cruel.
Oh no!
Do you know the thing is as well? Was like I was visiting Stoke with my kids and my wife a couple of years ago, and I went back to my old house. And around the corner, he'd moved 2 doors away from his mum and dad, and he wasn't in. But I knocked on, and his kid opened the door. And I said to his kid, who was about 8, I said, your daddy made me drink his wee-wee.
That's brilliant.
So we were in Stoke, and my wife had only seen it on Google Maps. And by Google Maps, she was like, I was just showing her around the towns and stuff. She was like, it looks, and she's from Beverly Hills, and she's like, it looks so idyllic. And they were like, I don't think Tunstall's ever been described as idyllic before. So
are you going to tell us you took her there on a Tuesday wet night?
Oh, we went to the park. We went to Tunstall Park, and we were overlooking the park. And she said, you say it's rough, but it's not rough at all. It doesn't feel that way. And as the words left her lips, I looked over at the tennis court, and so did she. A young fella went up to another young fella on a mountain bike, punched him in his face, and rode off on his mountain bike.
No way.
And I was like, there you go.
Wow. And they haven't been back since.
No.
How pleased have you been with Soccer Aid, Robbie? Because it's just like I'm not playing anymore in it, but I just so want to be involved because it is so special.
I mean, I don't know about you, but it was always huge. It's always big, but it has seemed to have gone through a few different gears to a place now where it exists outside of itself. When I came this year, I wasn't there for the training because I couldn't get into the country, and then I eventually did, and I came on Friday night, and I woke up Friday or Saturday or whatever it was, and then got on the coach, and with you and a few other guys, well, the team basically. Yeah. And it just felt like it had become part of the fabric of our society. It felt like it had become the same sort of thing that Comic Relief is, or the same sort of thing that Red Nose Day is. And it took me back. It was just like, wow, this is now bigger than I could ever have thought it was ever going to be. And also, I only thought it was going to happen once.
Yeah.
Genuinely. It was like, oh, that was great. What we got? What's coming back next year? Is it? Oh, okay. And now it's this like behemoth, huge, glorious thing that does wonderful stuff for so many children. And also, a bunch of celebs get the jollies off pretending to be professional footballers for 5 minutes. Everybody wins.
And of the non-professionals, of purely the celebs, who has impressed you the most over the years?
Well, I tell you who does impress me, because they profess themselves to not be a footballer in any way, shape or form, but they're just a physical specimen and a winner and a competitor. And you would never think this of them, having seen them on their daytime job. Ben Shepherd's really impressive.
Okay.
Yeah, Ben Shepherd's really impressive because just quietly he gets a job done in a great way. He's also the only person that gets sent off in a charity match.
Exactly. By the way, it was a red.
He does it, and he did it every game. Absolutely every game. He is a gentleman thug. He's a rugby player playing football. I'm always impressed with him. And Mark Wright is really, really impressive.
Yeah, I remember Robbie. I remember in training when Mark was his first time that he came onto Soccer Aid, and I was in goal, and then all of a sudden this shot got hit at me, and I went full length, and I didn't even get a touch on it, and it went straight in the top corner. I was like, "Oh, that's just hit that," and then I looked, and it was like Mark Wright. And I was thinking, wow, that was some shot. And I was like, straight on Wikipedia, I was like, what's he? He's had a bit of coaching before.
He's just so impressive, though, because it's just like incredibly good looking with this incredible jawline and just like this physical specimen that great things are happening for. And, you know, he's sort of like generating all of this thing himself by just turning up and being magnetic and charming and great looking. And also, he's a fantastic footballer. I'm part of the Mark Wright fan club. I think that I'm also a big fan of Ollie Murs, and he always puts a really great shift in. But there's something happens in the match where he doesn't just get quite to the level that I know and he know he's got it in his locker.
Yeah.
You know, he'll put in a great shift, and he'll do a 6.5, but I know there's an 8 or a 9 in there.
Yeah,
so,
and it was so frustrating for him in the last one because he'd just come back from surgery, hadn't he?
Yeah.
And I saw his knee, and I was looking at his knee, and I was thinking, Ollie, how long ago did you have surgery? And it wasn't long at all, you know, because he's still got like the bumps on the scars and all that sort of thing, you know. But he was so desperate to get out there, and all right, he only went out for about 10 minutes or so, but it just shows you the commitment and how much the celebs just absolutely love it, doesn't it?
Did you say that about yourself as well, Robbie, that you've only ever produced a 6.5 and you know that you could have produced an 8? Did I hear that in there?
You know, I tell you what, I've never been fit enough. I've never put in the hard yards, because you just get to Old Trafford and you realise how big that pitch is.
Yeah.
And like my mate Johnny Wilkes scores a wonder goal, and I set off to go and celebrate with him, and I'm just like, I can't be arsed. I'll have to come back from all the way up there. You know, so
you wouldn't be doing an Adebayor and running the length of the pitch.
Absolutely not. I think that my only regret, because like when I work out, I do a middle-aged workout. I'm going to get on the treadmill, and I'm doing kilometers. It's like 6 kilometers for 5 minutes. I'm doing well. 6.5 kilometers for 5 minutes. I'm doing well. 7. No, back down to 6.5. That's as fit as I get. My only regret is I never took it serious enough. And also, a few of the soccer aids were back in the good old days. So I was never really fit enough to show my wares properly.
Some of those concerts, though, they look exhausting, like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, but I know what I'm doing there. I know, I'm in control of that energy. You know, it's like I know what's coming next. I don't have to worry about controlling a ball that seems to take 50 years to get to my foot. That's another thing that happens at Old Trafford is you'll have a centre-back playing that's an ex-international and they'll spray a ball out to you, or Jamie Redknapp will spread a ball out to you, and literally you have second thought yourself 10 times before that ball gets to your foot. And it's terrifying. And then you try to control it, and then I've got a decent 3-iron of a left foot. In, right? Put on Old Trafford in front of 3 million people watching it at home, 75,000 people, and Jamie's dad managing. That 3-iron becomes a driver. And it's like every ball now is going nowhere near Teddy Sheringham, nowhere near Jamie Redknapp, and nowhere near Nicky Butt. And all of them are turning around with a look of disgust on their face. Doesn't improve the internal dialogue that I'm having with myself, where I'm just going, you are a bag of shit.
Brilliant. Robbie, so I normally ask like some of my guests like what's their favorite game or stuff like that. What was your favorite concert or tour or place where you had the tour? Here's the thing about tours, right? Is that if you take each show in isolation, which everybody does when they think about shows, they think one show, an audience giving adulation for you. And that's the snapshot that people do. But what actually happens on tour is this. You're professional, you get up to do your gig, and you create your own drug inside of yourself. So you create dopamine, adrenaline, and all of these things, and you're getting this affirmation from a stadium full of people, and you go into overload. And with this drug that you're creating for yourself, there's a payment. So for every high, there's a low. But they've also paid to come and see you the next day. So what actually happens with tours is you have these moments that feel literally out of this world. But then you pay for them the next day. So you've got a hangover. But then you've got to go do the show again. And you already, as with the mind that I've got, which is sort of panic attacky, scared, nervous, empathic, oversensitive. So you then worry that if you can recreate what you did last night. And often I do, because I'm a professional and I demand great things from myself. But when it comes to touring, it's just a version of that every 2 days for 5 or 6 months, where there's only these moments of absolute brilliance. That being said, so that's the overlay of what happens on tour. That being said, I did a gig at Hyde Park just before lockdown, and I was sort of expecting to come on stage and look triumphant and be triumphant, because that's the gig that I do with Let Me Entertain You. I am heroic. And I was like, I'm gonna floor them. And then these gas streamers went off that I wasn't expecting. And I came up through the floor, and then I couldn't see the audience. I was spooked. And then Robbie Williams disappears, and Robert Williams, little fat lad from Stoke, and I'm like, 75,000 people are staring at me. This is terrifying. How am I going to claw this back? And then 3 songs in, 4 songs in, 5 songs in, and then Robbie Williams turns up, and he takes over, and the show just went through so many gears, and the audience were throwing so much love my way. And by the end of the show, it was probably one of the best gigs that I've ever done. And also one of the most important gigs that I've ever done. Because, in your pomp, when you're in your moments, it's like going to the pool table and knowing that you're never going to miss.
But when you get older and you're not in your moment, to remind people of what you do or what you're good at, if I can say so, and they go, yeah, we remember you being this good and we love you for it. So that Hyde Park gig meant a lot to me.
No, brilliant.
I'm making a mental note, David. So if ever we go and see Robbie, third night it is.
Yeah.
I was going to say every other.
Yeah. Robbie, before we let you go, I've got to mention about my great mate, Bob Wilson. I was with him. It was his 80th birthday last Saturday, and I was with him on Sunday, and he's had a little turn for the worse, but he's getting better. But he told me the story of when you met him about the RPW.
Yeah.
And he was saying that when he found out that your middle name, he said, I didn't want to tell Robbie my middle name because his middle name's Primrose, isn't it? Right? Because he was telling me, and I was telling him that you were coming on the podcast. He's like, you've got to mention when I told him. And then he said to the...
Yeah, there was literally, just because of those initials, we had a little bit of a bond and a little bit of a connection, mixed with the fact that he's a lovely, lovely man.
Yeah.
What an absolute legend, and not just as a footballer for what he achieved, but actually as a character and the spirit of the man. So when you speak to him, please tell him that even though it was only a fleeting meeting, that it meant a lot to me just to meet a lovely person.
I will do.
Is there a story here? What's your middle name?
Percy.
Oh, right. You're laughing.
No, it's not. No.
Oh.
It's Peter.
Oh. Exactly. Yeah. But Primrose, that just takes it all, doesn't it?
Yeah. And he told me about his daughter, God bless her, that was called Willow, and that was my nickname at school. So please send him my love.
I will do it, mate. Brilliant. Well,
before we go, can I just, if you've got a second, can I just ask you about the state football in America? I mean, obviously, spending so much time in LA, do you go and watch soccer over there, or are you just glued to the TV and watching the Premier League, or how do you get your fix out there?
Okay, well, the great thing about being in America is that you can have the 3:00 games. So you on the TV, you get every single game. Right. So you get more football in America than you do in the UK. Having said that, I did go to LA Galaxy once, and it was like somebody from Mars seeing a game of football once, flying back to Mars, and then trying to reinterpret it.
I mean, the chanting, the British chanting, and the way that we make up the lyrics and stuff, and how rude it is brilliant. It's part of the atmosphere. I can't see the Americans quite getting into that.
Well, there was like these fans that were behaving like somebody had seen Italian ultras behave once, you know,
right?
With banners. And honestly, I think I spent 90 minutes with just my face going, what is this? And then you've got people sub behind going, referee, that's BS.
That's BS. Brilliant.
It's not BS, but it's bullshit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know what the state of it is anymore, because that was back in the day when David Beckham was there. But I just remember it just being something that I didn't want to do again.
Fair enough.
Brilliant. Well, Robbie, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, mate. I'm so happy you've been on. So, thanks very much, pal.
Anytime that you need me to come on, I will do, because I love talking about football.
We can tell.
It's amazing.
Me, I tell you.
Especially if Port Vale go on a really good run in the cup, we'll be in touch.
Accrington Stanley at the weekend, mate.
Is it Accrington Stanley at the weekend? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
At home.
3 points.
Who?
Be well.
Brilliant. Nice one, mate.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.